At the crossroads of great change, we are faced with a need for great resolve. To challenge the challenging, to build a resilient world for tomorrow. And while we remain rooted to the realities of our communities, today the systems we create, the conversations we hold, actively question these realities and make space for change. Because for 1 billion Indians to thrive, we must relook at our realities as fluid, our potential for change as flexible and interconnected. So this year, we are coming together to embrace that potential of transforming communities through a convergence of perspectives and continued action that rebuilds the future with resilience.
Hello and welcome everyone. I am Nandika and I represent Dasra and the 10 to 19 Dasra Adolescents Collaborative. Welcome to the 13th edition of the Dasra Philanthropy Week, and I thank you all for joining us today. While the last decade has given us great reason to celebrate our economic progress as India, the devastating pandemic has forced us to confront our current reality as a country. There are two stark realities in India. One India becoming one of the world's fastest growing major economies, and the other India, where 400 million realities have become the largest number of extreme poor globally. With this backdrop and the fresh wounds of the COVID war, this year's forum focuses on continuity, community, and convergence. Sharing learnings for collaborative action for greater continuity, keeping communities at the center, and forging convergence towards inclusive, scalable solutions. Accelerating Dasra's vision, a transformed India where a billion thrive with dignity and equity. With you today, Dasra celebrates 22 years of pioneering an approach to shaping collaborative philanthropy, which has new players, tremendous innovation, and a changing landscape. Regardless, Dasra's work is guided by a strong belief in prioritizing the lives of vulnerable communities, trusting and respecting the wisdom of local homegrown nonprofits, and leveraging the power of trust-based networks to build social capital with a gender, equity, diversity, and inclusion lens. Dasra now thrives on two core capabilities: leading collaborative platforms and catalyzing proximate philanthropy towards Dasra's mission, collaborative action to accelerate social change. Since 1999, Dasra has strengthened the social sector talent pipeline with over 350 Dasra alumni, fundraised more than 200 million US dollars, supported more than 1,000 diverse NGOs across the country, and affected the lives of over 90 million Indians. We need a philanthropic revolution and a bold ambition. By 2030, Dasra aims to raise 1 billion US dollars and affect over 500 million lives. Join us in this urgent call to action. A billion thriving. The nation needs you. India needs you. Now, without further ado, welcome to today's session, Powering Through the Pandemic, Collective Action to Build Stronger Communities. It is wonderful to see such a great representation of the 10 to 19 community here in the participants as well as in the audience. Thank you, audience members, for joining us today. We promise you a diverse set of speakers, a very interesting conversation, and hopefully a lot of food for thought for each of us to take back today. The session will be primarily in English, except one section that is going to be in Hindi. We will be offering live translation from Hindi to English in the chat. It will be summarized. And from English to Hindi in a Google document, the link to which will be posted in the chat, which you can access. Today's session is bringing together voices across 10 to 19's community of practice, starting with young people, of course, leading civil society organizations, communities, philanthropists, government representatives, as well as media, experts, and consultants, towards exploring the learnings, evolutions, and opportune road ahead for adolescents in India, particularly in the context of the last 2 years of the COVID pandemic, which have, as we all know, resulted in interrupted access to core services and backsliding on essential development indicators like education, health, livelihoods, etc. Over the course of today's conversation, you are going to be hearing from communities, including young people, volunteers, teachers, NGOs, and sector leaders. You will gain a first look at our latest knowledge product, The Rise to Resilience, on 4 NGOs' journey through the pandemic. You will hear from Ms. Kaku Nakate, Bank of America's India country head and an investor in adolescent well-being, as well as Sri Bhuvnesh Pratap Singh, project director at the Jharkhand State AIDS Control Society and a leading light in the state's health ecosystem. Today's session is an effort to bring together a set of people, each of whom have a key role to play in transforming the ecosystem which supports the development of adolescents and young people in India. It is only when we put our minds together and collaborate intentionally that we will be able to enable a leap forward for the young people of this country. And with that, let us begin with a beautiful musical performance by 2 talented young singers from Jharkhand. आज हमारे साथ 2 यंग चैंपियंस सावित्री और तेज नारायण जुड़े हैं, जो झारखंड की नागपुरी भाषा में अपने गाने हमारे लिए लाए हैं। इनके गीत झारखंड उनके होम स्टेट को दर्शाते हैं। आप दोनों का बहुत बहुत स्वागत एंड थैंक यू हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए, सावित्री एंड तेज नारायण।
नमस्कार श्रीका, मेरा नाम है सावित्री कुमारी। मैं सिमडेगा जिला से हूँ और छिटांगर प्रखंड से हूँ।
वेलकम।
मैं आपके सामने झारखंडी संगीत पेश करना चाहती हूँ। मैम शुरू करें?
जी प्लीज शुरू करिए।
ऊंचा नीचा पहाड़ पर्वत नदी नाला, हरे हमर छोटा नागपुर। ऊंचा नीचा पहाड़ पर्वत नदी नाला, हरे हमर सुंदर झारखंड। काले भूल गेली संगी, काले छोड़ गेली संगी, आसाम भूटान, हरे हरे चाय के बगान। मोर सुंदर हीरा झारखंडे, वन जंगल कतई सुंदर सरई फूल फूले। चहकेला चरैया रे, खुद केला हिरनिया रे, काल के हीरा भैया रे। चहकेला चरैया रे, खुद केला हिरनिया रे, काल के हीरा भैया रे। देखो ना मोय जहाँ दूरे दूरे, एते सुंदर वने खेती हरा लहरायला। देखो ना मोय जहाँ दूरे दूरे, एते सुंदर वने खेती हरा लहरायला। चल हर वरिया रे, पीछे से गोरिया रे, लागे सोहान दैया रे। चल हर वरिया रे, पीछे से गोरिया रे, लागे सोहान दैया रे। झारखंड के अखरायु परे, ढोल नागेरा संगे जोड़ा मंदर बाजे, दैया जोड़ा मंदर बाजे। चटका झंझरिया रे, खेल झूमरिया रे, मुड़े ऊपर खोसे दैया रे। चटका झंझरिया रे, खेल झूमरिया रे, मुड़े ऊपर खोसे दैया रे। ऊंचा नीचा पहाड़ पर्वत नदी नाला, हरे हमर हीरा झारखंड। काले भूल गेली संगी, काले छोड़ देली संगी, आसाम भूटान, हरी हरी चाय के बगान, हरी हरी चाय के बगान। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। थैंक यू सावित्री, बहुत ही सुंदर था। आपके गाने ने तो हमें सीधा झारखंड पहुंचा दिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच आज हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। अब हम अपनी अगली परफॉर्मेंस की तरफ चलते हैं। तेज नारायण भी नागपुरी भाषा में हमारे लिए एक शॉर्ट परफॉर्मेंस करेंगे। तेज प्लीज।
जी मैम, गुड इवनिंग। तेज नारायण सिंह झारखंड सिमडेगा से आप सबों के समक्ष नागपुरी गाना झारखंड से संबंधित प्रस्तुत करना चाहता हूं। हो 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 हाय रे हमर सोना झारखंड, हाय रे हमर हीरा झारखंड। स्वर्ग जैसन सुंदर अंधन से भरल धरती, सबसे सुखी संपन्न, हाय रे हमर सोना झारखंड, हाय रे हमर हीरा झारखंड। स्वर्ग जैसन सुंदर अंधन से भरल धरती, सबसे सुखी संपन्न, हाय रे हमर सोना झारखंड, हाय रे हमर हीरा झारखंड।
स्वर्ण रेखा शंख कोयल मयूराक्षी दामोदर साहेबगंज में गंगा बहे फल्गु नदी बराकर फड़के शंकरी जखन उड़ांगे पंचाने गावे खित हलिहाने हरा भरा वन उपवन है रे हमर सोना झारखंड है रे हमर हीरा झारखंड हिरनी रजरपा जोना हुंडरुद संबुढ़ा घाट बेतला जो बुली पार पंचती लया बान अलबट जातरा वैसा वीर बुद्धो कान्हो सुरवीर कर घर आंगन है रे हमर सोना झारखंड है रे हमर हीरा झारखंड थैंक यू
That was lovely. Thank you very much, Tej Narayan. Thank you, Savitri. आप दोनों ने जिस प्यार और गर्व से अपने झारखंड की बात बताई है, आई थिंक हम यही होप कर सकते हैं कि अगली बार ये हमें कंप्यूटर के थ्रू नहीं आपके साथ बैठ के एक्सपीरियंस करने का मौका मिले. सो लुक फॉरवर्ड टू सीइंग यू सून. थैंक यू वेरी मच. आपने टाइम निकाल के इतनी देर शाम को हमारे साथ ये सेशन ज्वाइन किया. थैंक यू. After that beautiful performance, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Dr. Bhuvnesh Pratap Singh Ji, to share his thoughts with us. In the spirit of today's event on youth power, I will take the liberty to say that we are honored to have Dr. Singh, a young and dynamic IAS officer with us, who is at the helm of key health programs and innovations in the state of Jharkhand. Dr. Singh is an IAS officer of the year 2012 batch. Presently, he is the project director of Jharkhand State AIDS Control Society, as well as the executive director of the Jharkhand State Arogya Society, executive director of State Ayush Samiti, state nodal officer of COVID vaccination, and the managing director of Jharkhand Medical and Health Infrastructure Development and Procurement Corporation Limited under the Department of Health. Earlier, Dr. Singh has also been the district magistrate cum deputy commissioner of Koderma, Goda, and Hazaribagh districts in Jharkhand, and we welcome him today amongst us. Thank you, sir, for taking out the time, and over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, very clear.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let me thank Dasra Foundation for organizing such a wonderful program. And I was told that this is 13th year of work which you people are doing in philanthropy as well as helping India grow. So deep from my heart, I thank Dasra Foundation for doing this great work. I also welcome all the participants in today's virtual conference. All those who are, I can see there are approximately 150 participants who have joined us. And as I was told that there are many organizations, NGOs, communities who will be helping us as a state to ensure that we all develop together, because it is our state, especially which is located in the eastern part of country. It is a small state, but the potential of my state is huge. Today, I am briefly speaking on behalf of my state as well as on behalf of my additional chief secretary, sir. At the very outset, I'll also thank Nandita for having prepared a good presentation for me and for my state, along with my whole team who has helped me out to prepare the presentation. To begin with, I'll request you to please take us through the slides, ma'am. Yeah, as you all can see, Jharkhand per se, our population is 3.15 crores as per the statistical data of 2010. But if we see in 2020, we are approximately 4 crore people in a state. And if you can see that 54% of Jharkhand is below 24. So you can just imagine and think about the demographic dividend which Jharkhand is going to give to my nation. And most important thing, if you see the population cohort, if you see that we call it as Jharkhand because our state, Jhar means jungle and Khand is land. So it is the land of forest. So if you see all the environmentalists, those who are talking about it, we people from Jharkhand, we are talking about it since ages. In fact, we have our customs and culinaries designed somewhere around the forest, and we all talk about forest, how to develop it. My state is rich in minerals and everything you think of it. In fact, the people over here, especially we have tribal societies. We also have PVTGs, that is primitive vulnerable tribal groups here. And apart from it, we have industrial towns with us. You can name it like Jamshedpur, Dhanbad, Bokaro, Ranchi. So we have everything with us, which makes us the best investment destination for everyone. Apart from investing a good investment destination, because I understand the team who all are present in today's conference, you people are basically looking to do some good for the nation per se. And I also understand that the hard-earned money which you earn, which you get out of your donors, you want to spend it in some useful things so that the result which you get is numerous. To begin with, I'll rather say in this state, even if you do one thing, that will give you result 100 times multifaceted result, which you may not get in the big cities like Delhi or anywhere in Bombay or in Maharashtra. Why I am saying this? Because here, whatever little we perform, it goes along. People are very adapting. If you would have listened to the songs of Tej Narayan and Savitri, you would have come to know our people are very simple. So what I'll rather say, this young state needs help of you all who can come together to help us grow. During COVID times, if we see the data across the country, it is the Jharkhand which has excelled in almost all. If you see the death rate across the nation, it was 1.25%, whereas in my state, it was hardly, it was less than the national average. If you see the number of cases and the number of deaths which had happened due to COVID in second wave, which was the deadliest wave we have seen, the number of deaths, although there were deaths, but it was very minuscule if we compare ourselves with that of the others. So what I'm trying to just insist that the immunity of my people is really strong. We may look soft, we may look that we are a tribal society, we live in far-flung area, but we are strong people. And whatever work you want to work here, we are with both the hands, we welcome you to come here and work whatever you want to work, because we are welcoming each and everyone who wants to help us as well as wants to help my state. Next slide, please. Am I audible, ma'am? And next slide, please.
Yes. Yes.
Now, if I will say the key priority which in which I may need your help is, obviously we are going through the phase of COVID. We have seen COVID third wave. 5 days back, Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, he has had a meeting regarding the impending fourth wave. In today's, if I'll say today, we have nations like China where they have already imposed a lockdown. So we need to gear up for the impending fourth wave, which I believe, myself a doctor, I feel it should not come. But let us be very practical that it may come. And if it comes, then we should be prepared the way, because why second wave was deadlier and why third wave was not deadlier. One reason could be because of the strain of virus, but another reason was we were all prepared. Now, if you see that after the third wave, we are all in a lackadaisical approach, we are not even thinking about it. So let me at very outset say, okay, we need to plan for the state, and the COVID is the utmost priority which is there with us. We have ample infrastructure with us, but we need to ramp up the infrastructure. Most of the NGOs and organizations have supported us during second and third wave. In fact, most of the religious organizations has also supported us. You won't believe, if you want to invest here, if you want to work good here, we have even allowed the entrepreneurs to come and open up the hospitals here and do whatever they want. In fact, we have also allowed them to do their branding, so that it should not happen that it is your money and we are enjoying the fruits. Rather, we have allowed people to go for branding. Second stage, second help which we are needing is about rolling out of the vaccination. Government of India has generously helped us in giving all the vaccines which we need. In fact, we have almost 100% of the people have
I think we see.
Next slide.
Yes, you're back, sir. We lost you for like 10 seconds.
Okay, next slide, ma'am. The key challenges, if you see what all we had done during the COVID time, intensified micro planning, preparation of micro zones. In fact, man-to-man planning was done with the help of district administration, and almost all of them down the line, from the district magistrate to civil surgeon to the Gram Pradhan, they were all informed with us. In fact, you won't believe we have few innovations which other states, and I am very proud to say that the other states have in fact copied. I'll quote an example. We have prepared a COVID circuit, that is during the second wave, when we came to know that in Ranchi district there were very few hospital beds. That time it was due to the ample vision of our chief minister. We were nearby district where we had beds, we had oxygen with us, but patients were not going, thinking that medical infrastructure is not there. So what we had done, we had used our ambulances. If patient was there, beds are not there in the hospital, we'll send it across to the another district. So COVID circuit was formed. In similar way, we had formed 4 to 5 COVID circuit in the state. Apart from it, we gave a huge boost to the Ayush. Birsa Ayush kit, it became a norm in every household, and we gave it to everyone. Home isolation kit, we started it, and after us, almost all the state came up with the idea of giving the medicines to each and every patient, irrespective of his social or economic status. And I am very proud to say almost all the philanthropic organization has helped us. It is not we who have done, it is you people, either directly or indirectly, who have all helped us to tackle this COVID first wave, second wave, or third wave. Next slide, please, ma'am. This is just the data for your consumption, so that you can still plan the way if you want to help us. Next slide, please. Vaccination for adolescent, I have already talked about it. Please, next slide, ma'am. Next slide. Now, basically today the session is focused on adolescent, and what all intervention that we need, that we are here to talk about. Just a minute. So since we are here to talk about what all adolescent program wherein you can help us, so I will start with an anecdote. When I had joined in AIDS Control Society, the number of blood units which we were collecting in my state was approximately 2 lakhs against the target of 4 lakhs. Now the target of 4 lakhs comes, that is the 1% of the whole population. That many number of people should go and donate the blood. Since we were all not aware about how to go enhance the blood donation, we involved youth with us. Youth festivals we started. In fact, we started blood donation during marriage ceremony, blood donation during their birthday ceremony. And you won't believe, in past 7 months, we have already exceeded our the previous year. What all we had 2 lakh target, we have already exceeded. And in fact, I still have 3 more months to go, and we'll be crossing more than 1 lakh blood units which we have collected year on year in last year. So you can imagine the potential which the youth here has. And if you are interested in aligning your targets along with the youth line, I think that is the best which can happen. I was a district magistrate in district Kodarma. There we have started a project wherein we involved a group of 10 girls, and we formed a gang by name Kishori Gang. That was just to give a rustic feeling. So in each school, we tried to form a Kishori Gang. Between the girls were of age group 10 to 14 years. Now, we know that the girls don't talk about the menstrual hygiene, but we make sure that since the group was the group of 10 girls were there, they had to talk about it. So many things we came to know. In fact, based on that, government, state government, and across the country now, if you are aware that we have started the free distribution of pads, sanitary napkins to girls, it is all because of the demand generated activity. And it all came from the girl side that we want this. The thing which people were used to think that it is a shame. So what I'm just saying, if we just teach them, they are all there to help us. And apart from it, we are helping our youth through RKSK program, summer scheme, and I'm sure all of you are aware of all the schemes which I have written on the slide. Next slide, please. So these are all the ongoing interventions. It is a repetition of previous slide. So what I'll just say that my state with the 54% population less than 24 has the potential, and we can create a participatory approach, participatory learning approach. We have come up with various models. Various NGOs have helped us to formulate the models, how we can help them. For you, I can just give a feeder that if you try to involve the youth, it will be a long way. Why we need to understand it will be a long way? Because once the youth gets attached with you, throughout the life he is here in the Jharkhand or in anywhere across the country, he will be associated with you, and he will in fact help you out with whatever plans you have. I have there are 2 districts. In fact, we say that if we see a cadre of IAS officers, and we know number of people in IAS, but particularly are more from Bihar. But actually it is not Bihar. It is Jharkhand, and in Jharkhand it is district Bokaro and Hazaribagh. And luckily I happen to be district magistrate of Hazaribagh. I found people are preparing like anything. So it is a mini India, Jharkhand itself, and people have potential. People have lots of aspiration. So if your aspiration and the aspiration of people get merged, we can surely come out of whatever poverty we have. Although we are poor because of the level of living or the BPL standard which we say, but at heart my people are, because I have served here from, I'm serving here from past 12 years, so I know my people here are they are very rich. So you can use this as an opportunity, and I'm sure next time all those who come down to Ranchi to meet me or to meet my ACS, you will be helping me out to ensure, and in fact you will come up with good plans so that we can help you out for everything, whatever you can do for us. Thank you, Dasra Foundation. Thank you all for patiently listening to me. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Singh. That was absolutely brilliant. It is really inspiring to hear your understanding of youth issues and also your commitment to, actually putting in the effort that is needed to empower this generation of change makers that we like to call it. It is our privilege to have a deep relationship with the health department in Jharkhand as well as WCD and education. And we really look forward to continue working with you along with all of our partners, many of whom are present today. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir, and lending your voice to this very important conversation. We again hope to visit you soon. And
Nandika, one more help, because I can see few people are interested in asking question. So
yes,
if I can impinge, if anyone can ask question, I'm ready to help, ready to answer, because I know I don't want to leave this forum. It's a very good forum wherein so many people are there, so many philanthropist organizations are there. So if I can get something for my state, I'll be really happy. If anyone amongst the participants, if they want to ask anything, I am ready to answer.
Thank you. So that's a very, very kind offer. What we will do is collect the questions that are in chat, if that's fine with you, and share them with you over email, and as well as make the introductions as required.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you.
Jharkhand, as you all might have guessed by now, has always been a priority geography for us at the 10 to 19 Adolescents Collaborative. We have been active in the state since about 2017 now, when we first began our detailed data collection exercise to assess the status of adolescents, which was our baseline. We are very keen for all of our on-ground learnings since then, and of course going forward as well, to serve as a way to improve adolescent outcomes in the state, but also provide models that can be replicated and scaled at the central level. And that is effectively our model and our priority in Jharkhand. Today's session, we will be exploring some of these on-ground experiences from a diverse set of speakers, which we hope can take us along the journey to begin unpacking some of these real challenges, some of the innovative solutions that have been tried, as well as understanding our shared responsibilities towards this area. We have curated this group today with that in mind. and with an intention to learn, evolve, and grow together. So I look forward to continuing this journey with you from now until another hour, and hope to keep your interest alive. In this spirit of learning, evolving, and growing, I would like to call upon Pooja Rao, Associate Director at Dasra, and leading our work at the Dasra Adolescents Collaborative, to talk a little bit about the last 5 years of our work, as well as a lot of the review and feedback exercises that we have undertaken, which have revealed a lot of learnings for us, which we would love to share with the group here. Pooja.
Thank you, Nandika. So Dasra has always believed in the potential of young people to transform their communities. We actually started this work way back in 2008, when we published our first ever report on the issue of adolescent girls continuing secondary education. Since then, Dasra as an organization has made a solid commitment to work with adolescents and young people till 2030 to be able to contribute towards India's SDG 2030 goals and targets. We have done this by pioneering a multi-stakeholder, multi-funder, multi-partner, participatory approach as the 10 to 19 Dasra Adolescents Collaborative to have a multiplier effect and influence adolescent health and well-being outcomes. 10 to 19 was launched in 2017 and since then has contributed to building India's nascent adolescent sector by committing to 4 North Star goals of completing secondary education, delaying age at marriage and first pregnancy, and building agency and employability. We do so by facilitating stronger government partnerships at the state and center, demonstrating new ways of scaling, and creating participatory ways to work with and for young people. We integrate a lens of gender, equity, diversity, and inclusion into all our work. Since 2017, 10 to 19 has built partnerships and collaborations with leading civil society and youth-facing organizations in Jharkhand and across India, government partners across the center and 3 states, domestic and international philanthropists, as well as academics, the media, and young people to shape this field. In the last 4 years, we've been able to improve awareness of and access to rights and services for adolescents and reached 450 plus adolescents on the ground. We've been able to improve government efficacy and capacities towards adolescent health and well-being by identifying, collecting, and documenting 13 best practices across multiple government departments and schemes to scale impact. Elevated adolescents' voices and leadership to 26 million people through initiatives such as Ab Meri Bari, and generated over 97 plus million digital impressions. Built 30 plus public knowledge assets and a learning network of 240 organizations on adolescent health and well-being. Mobilize greater and better resources by directing $50 million to the field from 34 strategic funders. Amongst all of this, what stands out to me, though, is our continuum approach that starts with the young person and ends with them. That not only delivers the program to young people as recipients, but also involves them in the delivery, brings together ecosystem enablers, and takes the voice of young people directly to policymakers at a hyper-local, state, and national level. This pioneering adolescent-first approach, called Ab Meri Bari, has been one of our key highlights, that is enabling policy action through a participatory approach. Having said that, we're constantly asking ourselves, is this enough? What more can we do? What better can we do to positively impact the lives of young people in India? As of 2022, 10 to 19 is building on its successes and learnings to transform public health and well-being systems for India's youth, and is building its model to achieve scale. We aim to accelerate adolescent-first approaches by funders, civil society, and government to engage a critical mass of 15 million adolescents in India, especially girls, to thrive and achieve their full potential. We're doing this through a 5-pronged approach. First, put adolescents in the forefront. Advance young people's capacity and leadership to engage with decision makers and communities to influence and prioritize the narrative. It was also great to hear Dr. Singh talk about the importance of working with young people as collaborators. Second, enhance funding by directing greater resources, funds, and championship from funders, governments, and civil society organizations towards adolescent issues. Third, document and disseminate best practices to be able to strengthen and amplify knowledge from successful on-ground programs. Fourth, build a learning network of civil society organizations, sector experts, and funders to enable knowledge sharing and collective action. Fifth, enable a participatory multi-stakeholder policy action to strengthen youth-centric schemes. To further illustrate our way forward, I'd now like to share a short video that illustrates our commitment to these goals, particularly collaborative action and a joint goal towards improving adolescent outcomes in India.
When we imagine the world of tomorrow, is it for each of us or all of us? Because every single day, each young person in India is striving to reach a world where they are equipped to make choices for themselves and realize their hopes and dreams. But today, young people's needs are constantly falling behind. With ever-increasing challenges to their health, safety, access to education and overall well-being, across India's social and development ecosystem, each of us has been trying to accelerate and promote young people's potential and progress. By innovating and implementing diverse programs and initiatives, by reinforcing access to resources, to achieve outcomes that decide where we will land tomorrow. Each of us have been trying to mitigate these challenges by working with young people to lift the burden. Some of us have been transforming systems through policy action. Some of us have been strengthening service delivery systems through on-ground interventions. And some of us have been carrying out simple but significant everyday acts of change. Each of us is trying to find a solution that works, often on our own and frequently independent of one another. And so, the weight of young people's vulnerabilities and challenges continue to grow at a pace where individual siloed efforts are unable to match the size of the problem. Until we come together to discover a power that is larger than the individual potential that each of us holds. Because the outcome that determine young people's future are larger than each of us. So when all of us work collectively with the force of collaboration leading our heart, guiding our hands, we are able to align our efforts, build multi-pronged solutions, and develop resources beyond funding to work not just for young people, but with them. To recognize intersectionalities, invest in mobilizing communities of change makers, pioneers, and adolescent leaders. To create solutions that bring hands from every corner together, enabling the young people of today to build a world where they thrive tomorrow. Finding our way to that world depends on the choice we make today. Is it going to be each of us or each of us for all of us?
Thank you, Pooja. That was really useful. After that overview of 10 to 19, we would now like to move towards our next section that brings together community voices. We have with us today Soni Marandi, a young girl champion and youth club member from Devgarh, Jharkhand. We also have Sonaman Hembramji, headmaster of a secondary school from Devgarh itself, and a young girl champion Beena Kumari from Simdega, Jharkhand. आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है. आगे का ये सेशन अब हिंदी में होगा एंड ट्रांसलेशन की समरी चैट में पेस्ट की जाएगी. The rest of the session is going to be in Hindi, and we will attempt to put down a few summary points in the chat in English for the benefit of speakers, the benefit of participants who don't understand Hindi, and we hope to do justice as best possible. Thank you, Soni, Beena, and Sonaman ji, हमारे साथ इतने देर शाम को जुड़ने के लिए. तो बढ़ते हैं हमारे पहले सवाल की ओर. सोनी, जो मैं आपसे करना चाहूंगी.
यस मैम.
सोनी, आप एक युवा नेता हैं, अपनी कम्युनिटी के इश्यूज को भी बहुत गहराई से समझ चुकी हैं, समझती हैं. आपके अनुभव में कोविड महामारी के बाद भी किशोर किशोरियों को किस तरीके की चुनौतियों का सामना करना पड़ रहा है?
अभी मतलब कोविड के बाद तो किशोरियों को सबसे ज़्यादा चुनौती ये करना पड़ रहा है कि उनकी पढ़ाई जो छूट चुकी थी, बहुत पीछे हो गए थे और अभी उन लोगों के लिए स्कूल तो खुल चुका है, पर थोड़ा दिक्कत ये है कि उन लोग फिर से मतलब एक नया दौर के जैसा उन लोगों को लग रहा है, क्योंकि गाँव समुदाय में तो एकदम से पढ़ाई छूट गई है, तो परिवार वाले भी इतना शिक्षित तो है नहीं जो अपना बाल-बच्चा को पढ़ा पाए, आगे बढ़ा पाए, फिर बोल पाए। लेकिन इसलिए बहुत कोविड के बाद बाल-बच्चे बहुत ही मतलब नीचे स्तर गिर गया है पढ़ाई के विषय में और स्वास्थ्य के विषय में भी जितना पहले ध्यान होता था, अभी इतना ध्यान नहीं हो पा रहा है। चारों तरफ से अब कोविड के बाद लगता है फिर से शुरुआत करनी पड़ेगी, नया न्यू उठाना पड़ेगा। कोविड के बाद तो अभी दिक्कत तो है पढ़ाई को लेकर के, किशोर-किशोरिया के बीच में और रही किशोरियों की तो कुछ-कुछ की पढ़ाई जो छूट चुकी है, उनका दिक्कत ये आ रहा है कि घर का काम-काज में जुट चुकी है, तो मम्मी-पापा भी निर्भर हो गए हैं कि बनाया हुआ खाना मिलता है तो पढ़ाई के लिए ध्यान उतना नहीं दे पा रहे हैं। जो कि 1-2 बात ना ऐसे आ रहा है कि कोई-कोई लड़कियाँ किशोरी की नहीं के बराबर जाने लायक ऐसे बात आ रहा है कि घर का काम-काज में ही जुट गई है। इसलिए ये कोविड बहुत ही मतलब ख़ास करके किशोरियों के लिए में एक चुनौती बन के खड़ी हुई है।
थैंक यू सोनी हमारे साथ शेयर करने के लिए। आई नो आपका बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है ग्राउंड पे, तो जब आप बात करती हैं आप सिर्फ अपनी नहीं अपनी कम्युनिटी की बात हमारे पास रख रही हैं। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू मैम।
सो नामन जी, मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी अगर आप अपना ऑडियो और वीडियो ऑन कर पाएं। जी, थैंक यू सुनामन जी। सुनामन जी, आपके एक्सपीरियंस में आप हेडमास्टर हैं एंड यू नो यूथ इश्यूज के साथ में आपने काफी काम किया है। आपकी राय में स्कूल और टीचर्स किशोर किशोरियों को प्रभावित करने में और उनका नेतृत्व बढ़ाने में क्या भूमिका निभा सकते हैं?
सबसे पहले तो गुड इवनिंग टू एवरीवन, सर, मैडम, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, जोहार। मैं सोनामन हेम्ब्रम, प्रभारी प्रधानाध्यापक उत्तर मध्य विद्यालय कुबरी आमडिया देवपुर देवघर जिला झारखंड से। मैम, आपका जो सवाल है उसका अगर शॉर्ट में कहा जाए तो समाज में युवा भागीदारी, युवा नेतृत्व का विकास में विद्यालय या शिक्षक या अभिभावक का क्या भूमिका हो सकता है, ये सवाल है। तो इसमें सबसे पहले तो हम ये कहना चाहेंगे कि चाहे वो विद्यालय हो, चाहे संस्था हो, चाहे गांव समाज हो, हर जगह जब तक हम युवा शक्ति को, यानी जो अभी जो जिसकी चर्चा हो रही है 10 to 19, युवा शक्ति को जब हम व्यवस्था का हिस्सा नहीं बनाएंगे तो फिर हम उसको युवा नेतृत्व का, उसके अंदर जो व्यक्तित्व है युवा नेतृत्व का, हम काम नहीं कर सकते। इसलिए उन्हें सिस्टम का हिस्सा बनाना पड़ेगा, उन्हें व्यवस्था का हिस्सा बनाना पड़ेगा। और शायद हमारे विद्यालय में जो बाल संसद की परिकल्पना की गई है, इसी युवा भागीदारी को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए, युवा नेतृत्व के विकास के पर्पज से ही परिकल्पना की गई थी। और आज हर एक विद्यालय में हम देखते हैं कि वो कार्यशील है और उनके थ्रू हम देखते हैं कि छोटे छोटे बच्चे जो है वो उनको हम लोग एक स्कूल में क्या करते हैं, छोटे छोटे बच्चे को छोटे छोटे काम देते हैं। और ऐसा विश्वास है कि जब बच्चे छोटे छोटे काम को जिम्मेदारी पूर्वक और उत्साह पूर्वक जब करने लगेंगे तो संभवतः है वो बड़े बड़े काम भी कर लेंगे। जैसे कभी कभी विद्यालय में उनको सौंपते हैं कि कक्षा संचालन, क्योंकि सरकारी विद्यालय की ये स्थिति है कि जो क्लास के बनिस्पत टीचर कम होते हैं, जहाँ 1 to 8 है वहाँ 3-4 टीचर होते हैं, तो बाकी क्लास को अटेंड करना या टेकअप करना थोड़ा सा कठिन होता है। ऐसी स्थिति में जो तेज बच्चा होते हैं उनको वो नेतृत्व की भागीदारी सौंपते हैं और वो कक्षा संचालन कभी कभी करते हैं। और प्रार्थना सभा से जो अंतिम घंटी की एक्टिविटी तक वो बच्चे जैसे साफ सफाई हुआ, प्रार्थना सभा का अरेंजमेंट करना, पंक्तिबद्ध करना बच्चों को, जो पानी चापाकल का होता है उसका निकास कैसे करना है, और जो साफ सफाई के बाद जो कचरे होते हैं उनका प्रबंधन कैसे किया जाए, तो ये सारे एक्टिविटी जो है बच्चे के थ्रू हम लोग करवाते हैं। तो शुरू में ही मैंने कहा कि सिर्फ विद्यालय ही नहीं, गांव समाज में भी, घर में भी सामाजिक सांस्कृतिक कार्य, धार्मिक कार्य जितने भी होते, अभिभावक को चाहिए कि बच्चे को पूर्ण भागीदार बनाए, उनको शामिल करे। ये नहीं कहे कि आप बच्चे हो अभी नहीं कर सकते, नहीं, बच्चे उत्सुक रहते हैं। हमने देखा है कि छोटे छोटे जो सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम, सामाजिक कार्यक्रम होता है, उसमें जब बच्चे को आप कहते हो तो बड़ा उत्सुकता को करते हैं, और करते हैं तो उसके अंदर जो डर होता है वो खत्म होता है, समाप्त हो जाता है। और हमें उनको इंकरेज करना चाहिए। जब उनसे अगर छोटा मोटा गलती हो जाए तो उनको कहेंगे चलो कोई बात नहीं, तो उनके अंदर जो है आत्मविश्वास जागता है, वो उनको लगता है कि नहीं, मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, आई कैन डू इट। तो ये सबसे बड़ी बात है। और जो छोटे जो युवा वर्ग जो होते हैं, उनको डिसीजन मेकर बनाना बहुत जरूरी है। जब तक कि वो खुद का डिसीजन नहीं ले सके तो फिर वो आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते। और जब डिसीजन लेने लगते हैं तो समझ लीजिए वो नेतृत्व कर रहा है, वो लीड कर रहा है बाकी बच्चे को। तो ऐसे स्थिति में उनको डिसीजन मेकर बनाने के लिए कुछ कुछ समस्याएं हम लोग क्रिएट करते हैं, या खुद भी क्रिएट होता है विद्यालय में। आप सभी विद्यालय से हम लोग बड़े हैं, तो छोटे छोटे बच्चे कभी आपस में झगड़ जाते हैं, तो उनको समझाना, फिर उनको उनके बारे में डिसीजन देना। और कभी कभी हम लोग जानबूझकर भी कुछ समस्या क्रिएट कर देते हैं कि जैसे किताब का वितरण करना है, पोशाक का वितरण करना है, तो कैसे करना है, तो बच्चे का हेल्प लेते हैं और बच्चे उनमें भागीदार हो जाते हैं। और भागीदार होने के बाद वो खुद डिसीजन लेते हैं, सर ऐसा करते हैं, सर ऐसा करते हैं, क्लास वाइज खड़ा करते हैं, मैंने वो अपना डिसीजन देने लगते हैं। तो उनको हम लोग वो एनकरेज करते हैं। तो इस तरह से वो निर्णय क्षमता का उनके अंदर जो है ना वो विकास। और जो इस तरह से जब भागीदार हो जाते हैं तो उनके अंदर जो डर रहता है वो भी खत्म होता है। और अभी का जो समय है वो हम लोग समझते हैं ना कि डिजिटल भारत है। तो ऐसी स्थिति में जो भी हमारे आसपास में, जो भी हमारे क्षेत्र में उपलब्ध संसाधन है, जैसे कंप्यूटर हो गया, लैपटॉप हो गया, टैब हो गया, मोबाइल हो गया, उनका इस्तेमाल उनको करने दे हमारी देख रेख में। और जब हमारी देख रेख में जब वो इस्तेमाल करते तो सीखते हैं, तो आज के समय से वो वर्तमान से जुड़ते हैं। और ये सबसे बड़ी बात है। और ये उपलब्धि उनके अंदर जो उनका जो युवा भागीदारी है या युवा नेतृत्व की तरफ हम उनको ले जाना चाहते हैं, वो हम उस पर सफल हो सकते हैं। और एक तरह से हमको समझना पड़ेगा कि एक विद्यालय में मान के चलिए हम एक सर्वोच्च कमांडर हैं और हमारे सारे बच्चे हमारे सेनापति हैं। और हमने देखा है कि हम सभी ने देखा है कि टीवी में जब हमारे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जब छुट्टी मनाने आर्मी फौज के साथ जब अपना छुट्टी बिताते हैं, तो उनके अंदर जो उत्सुकता और जो बल और जो मनोबल जो उनके अंदर उत्पन्न होता है, ये अतुलनीय है। और यही हमारे अंदर भी एक सोच डेवलप हुआ कि नहीं, हमारे बच्चे जितने भी हमारे सेनापति हैं और हम उनका सर्वोच्च कमांडर है, हम उनको मार्गदर्शन देंगे और उनके अंदर में वो काम करेंगे तो उनसे गलतियां नहीं होंगी। और होंगी तो हम उनको डांटेंगे नहीं, बल्कि कहेंगे चलो कोई बात नहीं। और इस तरह से उनको हम जो युवा नेतृत्व है उनका भागीदार हम बना सकते हैं। और ये सिर्फ विद्यालय में ही नहीं, विद्यालय में तो सिर्फ 6 घंटा समय बिताते हैं, बाकी 16 घंटा वो घर में बिताते हैं। तो हम अभिभावक और जितने भी हमारे बुद्धिजीवी वर्ग जुड़े हुए हैं, उनसे भी हम अनुरोध करेंगे कि ये जो मेरा जो अनुभव है, मेरा जो थिंक है, उसको सब इसको फॉलो करें, तो हमारे युवा वर्ग बहुत आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। उनके अंदर हम युवा नेतृत्व का विकास कर सकते हैं।
जी, थैंक यू सनामन जी, आपने बहुत अच्छा से हमें समझाया। एंड आपका पर्सपेक्टिव एंड एक्सपीरियंस ऑन ग्राउंड बहुत ही डिफरेंट है एंड हम सबके लिए, ऑडियंस मेंबर्स के लिए सुनने के लिए भी बहुत ही यूजफुल है। सो थैंक यू हमारे साथ आज जुड़ने के लिए।
धन्यवाद।
अगला हम बीना ज्योति कुमारी के पास जाना चाहेंगे, जो कि एक यूथ चैंपियन है झारखंड से। बीना, अगर आप
ऑडियो और वीडियो बंद करें या खुला?
हाँ जी, प्लीज। थैंक यू। बीना, आपको हमारी आवाज आ रही है?
यस मैम, आ रही है।
ग्रेट, वेलकम। बीना, आप खुद एक यूथ चैंपियन है, लीडर है, तो आप अपनी राय में, अपने एक्सपीरियंस में अगर हमें थोड़ा बताएंगे कि यूथ और जो युवा है झारखंड के अपने खुद के लिए सॉल्यूशन, समाधान बनाने में क्या भूमिका निभा सकते हैं?
मैं युवाओं की भूमिका पर अपनी बात रखने से पहले स्वयं से जुड़े कुछ सिचुएशंस और मेरे द्वारा खुद से किए गए प्रयास से जुड़ी बात के जरिए मैं अपनी बात रखना चाहूंगी। जब कोरोना महामारी की दूसरी लहर आई हुई थी, उस समय सब अपनी सुरक्षा के दृष्टिकोण से घर में रहने लगे थे, कोई बाहर नहीं निकलते थे। इस दौरान मैंने और मेरे युवा साथियों ने मिलकर अपने कम्युनिटी में कोरोना के प्रति जागरूकता फैलाने का काम किया। ऐसे गांव में हम लोगों ने देखा जहाँ पे लोग कोरोना का नाम तक नहीं सुनना चाहते थे, उस पर एक सेंटेंस तक नहीं सुनना चाहते थे। ऐसे गांव में जाकर हम लोगों ने लोगों को समझाया, उनके बीच सामंजस्य बनाया, जिससे लोग कोरोना क्या है, हमें किस प्रकार ये हानि पहुंचा सकता है, इसके प्रति हमें कैसी सुरक्षा बरतनी चाहिए, इन सभी चीजों के प्रति हम लोगों ने उन्हें जागरूक किया। साथ ही देखा जाए तो कोरोना के दौरान सभी स्कूल कॉलेज ये सभी चीजें बंद थी, बच्चों का पढ़ाई रुक गया था, बच्चों का पढ़ाई से रिश्ता जैसे टूट ही गया था। इस दौरान मैंने अपने पंचायत के जनप्रतिनिधि से बात कर अपने पंचायत में एक ऐसी जगह उपलब्ध कराने की बात कही जहां मैं बच्चों को बेहतर ढंग से गुणवत्तापूर्ण शिक्षा दे सकूं। इस दौरान हमें काफी मुश्किलों का सामना भी करना पड़ा, जैसे जगह उपलब्ध कराने के लिए हम लोगों ने जनप्रतिनिधि से बात की थी, बच्चों के गार्जियन से बात कर उन्हें शिक्षा के प्रति जागरूक किए, बच्चों को एकजुट किए, साथ ही कोविड-19 के सभी शर्तों को प्रमुखता से पालन किया। जैसे मैंने स्वयं से जुड़ी 2 बातें रखी, एक तो अपने गांव में समुदाय में महामारी के दौरान जागरूकता का काम और साथ ही बच्चों को शिक्षा देने का काम। ये दोनों ही एक युवा की ही सोच है। मेरा मानना है कि किसी भी देश के विकास का आधार युवा शक्ति होती है। जिस प्रकार एक भवन को खड़ा करने में नींव की आवश्यकता होती है, उसी प्रकार एक देश को शक्तिशाली बनाने में एक युवा शक्ति की आवश्यकता होती है।
जी।
हम सभी युवाओं को संकल्प लेना चाहिए अपने राष्ट्र को आगे बढ़ाने में। जैसे कि हम देखते हैं हमारे समुदाय में अनेक प्रकार की समस्याएं आती है, उनका हमें डट कर कैसे सामना करना है, इस पर हमें विचार करना चाहिए, ना कि हम कैसे करेंगे ये सोचना चाहिए। हमारे राष्ट्र के समक्ष आने वाली विकास विरोधी और अन्याय जैसी समस्याओं का हम डट कर सामना करेंगे, तभी हमारा समाज, हमारा राष्ट्र आगे बढ़ पाएगा, क्योंकि युवा शक्ति ही अपने सोच, अपने विचारों तथा अपने शब्दों से राष्ट्र को समृद्धि प्रदान कर सकती है। अब मैं कहना चाहूंगी कि मेरे द्वारा बोली गई कुछ अच्छी बातों पर अगर हम अमल करें और उस पर विचार कर उन बातों को राष्ट्र निर्माण के उपयोग में लाएं, क्योंकि मेरा मानना है कि एक शिक्षित बच्चा, शिक्षित युवा और शिक्षित समाज से ही हम राष्ट्र सहित पूरे विश्व का सर्वांगीण विकास कर सकते हैं। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू बीना, थैंक यू। आप इतने इंस्पायरिंग चीजें हमें बता रही हैं कि आई थिंक आज जो आपने सोनी ने और सोनामन जी ने कहा है, हमें बहुत कुछ वापस जाके सोचने की जरूरत है और इसी के हिसाब से आगे का रास्ता भी हम तय करें तो अच्छा होगा। तो थैंक यू अपना पर्सपेक्टिव हमारे साथ शेयर करने के लिए।
यस मैम, मैं और भी कुछ कहना चाहूंगी।
जी बीना, अगर आपके पास आधा मिनट का वक्त है, अगर आप उसमें रैप अप कर पाए।
हमें एक युवा होने के नाते मेरा मानना है कि हमें अपने समुदाय में एक अच्छा वातावरण तैयार करने की जिम्मेदारी होती है, जिससे कि हमसे जो छोटे बच्चे हैं वो हमसे कुछ सीख पाए। मैंने अपने समुदाय में एक बेहतर माहौल तैयार करने की, बच्चों में पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग लाने की बहुत कोशिश हमेशा करती रहती हूँ। अभी पिछले साल अक्टूबर में मिलान फाउंडेशन के द्वारा एक कंपटीशन रखा गया था गर्ल आइकन लीडरशिप समिट का, जिसमें पूरे भारत की लड़कियों को कोविड-19 के दौरान अपने समुदाय के लिए आपने क्या बेहतर काम किया, इससे आपके समुदाय को क्या लाभ हुआ, इस पर हमें 1.5 मिनट पर अपनी बात रखने का मौका मिला था, जिसमें पूरे भारत में 21 लड़कियों का चयन किया जाना था, जिसमें मेरा भी झारखंड से हुआ।
Congratulations.
थैंक यू मैम। मुझे अपनी सफलता का नवंबर में ही पता चल गया था कि इस चीज में मैं सफल हो गई हूँ। और मिलान फाउंडेशन के द्वारा 29 जनवरी को मुझे ऑनलाइन एक प्राइज स्मार्टफोन एक प्राइज के रूप में मिला और एक एजुकेशनल स्कॉलरशिप भी। आपको मैं बता दूं कि उसी स्मार्टफोन से मैं आज आपसे जुड़ पाई हूँ और आपसे बात करके अपनी बात रखकर मुझे बहुत अच्छा महसूस हो रहा है।
थैंक यू सो मच एंड आई एम सो ग्लैड कि आपने ये एप्लीकेशन भरा, आपने क्वालिफाई किया और आप आज हमारे साथ उसी रीजन से जुड़ पा रहे हो। ये सब आप ही की मेहनत का फल है एंड वी लुक फॉरवर्ड भी ना कि आगे भी हम साथ में काम जरूर साथ में करते रहें, तो बहुत ही अच्छा रहेगा।
यस मैम, हमारी कोशिश रहेगी आप लोगों के साथ काम करने की।
जी बिल्कुल, हमारी भी। थैंक यू बीना, थैंक यू वेरी मच। एंड आपके यहाँ पे बिजली गई है फिर भी आप ज्वाइन कर रहे हो, उसके लिए भी
यस मैम, लाइट चली गई है।
जी जी, मेरी आपकी आवाज बहुत क्लियरली आ रही थी, थैंक यू। और आपकी बात से ही इसके आगे तो मैं और कुछ कह नहीं सकती, आपने बेस्ट बात कह दी है, तो मैं इस पे एंड करती हूँ ये वाला सेशन। थैंक यू सोनी, थैंक यू सोनामन जी, थैंक यू बीना हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। एंड ऑडियंस मेंबर्स, सॉरी हम थोड़ा सा टाइम के ऊपर जा रहे हैं, little running a few minutes late, but I just cannot play timekeeper when there is so much inspiring content coming my way. So please do forgive me for that. But let us move ahead to our next session. You've heard a lot about the vulnerabilities, challenges, issues at the community level that people are facing. But there are organizations there helping out and supporting these young people and their communities. And there are also funders, of course, who are helping these organizations fulfill their mandates. And in that spirit, I would like to launch with Bank of America, Ms. Kapuna Khate, the India country head, who's present here with us, our latest documentation that we have created of challenges and best practices on ground, documented in the form of a report called The Rise to Resilience. Welcome, Kaku, and thank you. Thank you very much for that. The Rise to Resilience is a report that we've put together with 4 of our NGO partners based in Jharkhand, Angan, Center for Catalyzing Change, Child in Need Institute, and Quest Alliance, to understand how they went through this pandemic, what program implementation support that they enable for young people, and also the support and flexibility that they needed in order to implement some of these. So thank you, Kaku, so much for unveiling this report.
Thank you.
We will be coming back to you, Kaku, for a set of question and answers. But before that, if I can request Sana from the Adolescents Collaborative team to give us a very quick overview of the top highlights of the report, and as well as let us know what our NGO partners have been up to the last couple of years, so that everyone in the audience can also have a sense of learnings that can be scaled across the country. To you, Sana.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nandika. And hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sana, and I represent the Dasra Adolescents Collaborative. And over the last few months, I've had the privilege of being involved in designing and executing the Rise to Resilience alongside 10 to 19's partners, communities, and advisors. And we are very glad to have launched this report before all of you today, especially at a forum that includes such diverse representation of stakeholders. And now I'd like to share some key highlights from this report with you. The report is rooted in the overall theme of resilience, and it highlights the steep adaptations that nonprofits had to undertake during the pandemic on the programmatic and on the institutional front. And these adaptations, learnings have since turned into promising practices that we'd like to share with all of you today. On the programmatic front, firstly, we observed that the success of any program lies in the strength of its last mile service delivery network. For example, we're well aware that the pandemic and lockdowns restricted access to menstrual products and highlighted the lack of access to digital devices. To combat this, nonprofits can explore partnerships with corporates to ensure steady supply of necessities, or alternatively, engage with local community groups to develop cheaper production alternatives. Secondly, the importance of community participation is higher now more than ever, because a network of local community volunteers is crucial not only for service delivery, but also to inculcate an active support system, a safe space for adolescents or any vulnerable group for that matter, beyond just their families and friend circles. And finally, it is crucial for us to understand what the emerging needs of this demographic are. And in order to do this, we need to invest in collecting, collating, and updating a database of adolescents at regular intervals. And a data-backed decision-making approach in this case will help us understand the complex interplay between the multiple variables in the sector and will prove helpful in building resilience for the long term. And to conclude, on the institutional front, it's important for us to recognize that while NGOs play a pivotal role in improving outcomes for communities on the ground, they've also had an extremely steep learning curve and have had to adapt in many ways to continue surviving through this period. So we need to support them with through the lens of flexible funding, and encourage them to invest in the mental health and well-being of their employees, because that is as essential a component of growth and development. And we at 10 to 19 hope to facilitate as much of this cross-learning as possible going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna, and thank you also for taking instructions to close really quickly. Great to see how what's in the report aligns a lot with what community members and young people have said so far. Bank of America has been a great support to the adolescents demographic, and they do believe in going beyond the rationale, not only supporting organizations, but they believe in collaborative philanthropy, ensuring organizations get support for capacity building. They have also supported organizations beyond just funding support. So for our next segment, I would like to invite Ms. Kaku Nakade, India Country Head for Bank of America, without whose partnership and prioritization of institution building, we would not have been able to take the risks and place so much emphasis on learnings as we have been able to do over the last year or so. So thank you for that, and welcome, Kaku. So my question to you, I guess, is a broad one. COVID has been a difficult time, of course, for all of us. And Bank of America has recognized that its upending efforts and impact in communities for the NGOs as well as the development sector as a whole. And you have extended that support in a very holistic manner. So could you share motivations that keep the Bank of America team aligned to the mission of doing what it takes to respond to critical needs of vulnerable communities, and then also this emphasis on documenting knowledge and what works?
Thank you, Nandika, and also thank you, Dasra, for inviting me. I think the big thing about Bank of America, and coming right from our CEO, is we exist not just for profit, but also need to have a purpose. So we need to be helping the communities in which we thrive. And that's what precisely our company statement talks about: responsible growth. And it's not only to the shareholders, but it's also to the communities at large. And driven by the same spirit, of course, all of us are also partly driven in a sense that, there is a sense of purpose beyond just working by influencing communities that are around us. And what we have done here, therefore, during the COVID times is kind of help the NGOs with whom we have partnered, just like corporates really did not envisage the virus problem. And we needed to reinvent and learn. And probably we had more resources at our disposal and hence could adapt faster. It was very good to really highlight what we learned to the NGOs and learn also from them, because even they had to do a lot of quick fixes on that. And I thought that, and I always believe that Dasra does a fantastic work in kind of bringing together and doing this report to see what really transpired on the ground and learn, because this could come again. And, it could be some other problem, but how can we really build, collaborative learning on the ground? How can we jointly collaborate and fight for a similar cause so that it's a multiplier effect that we believe in? And frankly, how can corporates like us and government also take advantage of these reports to bring the right intervention and scale it up to the next level? So keeping all this in mind, I think we've always believed in content-driven research, which always has been together with Dasra in most of the cases. Second thing is how can we enhance our learnings as well as the NGO learnings? And number three, have collaboratives that actually enhance our outcomes and can help together to take it to the next level by more people joining hands together.
Thank you very much, Kaku, and that's great to hear. I think documenting learnings, understanding what works has also been something very important for the collaborative. So I would love to hear your perspective on some of this aspect of replication scale, sharing, some of this, and how do you really see that panning out?
So, see, I think collaborative work needs to be more appreciated by more people, because unlike in a corporate, you are not competing with the next door for profits. It's not competition. Collaborative work can actually bring the scale, and the impact will be a lot more huge if we share our learnings and improvise and have. Because if you see, one of the things I found that all NGOs are not present across India. But some of the things that we do, say, for example, in adolescent girls, sanitation to be provided both at homes or in skill, or to have them, have the last mile on menstrual pads, sanitary pads reaching them. Now, the impact can be, multi-pronged if we learn from each other, the different states, and actually collaborate better so that the corporates come together, the learnings come together, and education institutions like yourselves come together who can help the effort. And then finally, we also bring in the government to get some of their programs to really target the right people. So I believe collaboratives have a long way to go. And if we really need to get the per capita up in India, we need to really address it with the help of collaborative effort to reach the last mile, where people can't afford, where people can, however, contribute. And the whole idea is to empower them, and which then really creates the it takes the whole family along with you and, have a transformational effect for the generations to come. And that's why I think collaboration can only strengthen. I think this book that we have, proposed and Dasra has actually got from, the sharings that, our NGOs like Angan Trust have really highlighted, Quest have highlighted. It's an eye-opening thing. And, as to in the different states, if you really see how safety of children and adolescent girls became so very important during COVID times, when there was pressure on families for funds, when there was pressure on families for jobs, and these kind of things, and then training 885 volunteers and getting people together, I thought was a fantastic effort. And I'm sure people who read this are going to really think of this whole community building exercise for even other problems as we go along. So there's lots to learn from collaboration. And research, I think, is the key. Just like in the stock market, we always do research to know which share to buy. I think it also, makes us very clear where grants should be given, where the impact is maximum.
That's brilliantly summarized. Thank you so much, Kaku. Great to hear your perspective, of course, as always. And I think the quote, responsible growth, that you spoke about is one that will stay with us and that many more can learn from. Thanks for joining us today and for sharing your perspective and for launching the report, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Wish you best for the event.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So moving on from that inspiring conversation, we've heard from a diverse group of stakeholders, but there is still more to come. Post-COVID recovery of young people, communities has of course been supported on ground by a large number of NGOs. And we have a few people from civil society present here with us to share their perspective on this experience. These are civil society leaders who are at the helm of organizations which have somehow managed to keep young people and communities continuously at the center of their work, while themselves struggling to safeguard their organizations and teams through the past 2 years. We are honored to be joined today by Shumantru Mukherjee, State Lead of Jharkhand for Child in Need Institute, Atiya Bose, CEO of the Angan Trust, Sanjay Mishra, Senior Resident Editor of Jharkhand's leading daily Prabhat Khabar, and Aarti Shukla ji, Country Head for Love Matters India. A very warm welcome to you all. It is super inspiring to see this power-packed panel together on one screen. So thank you for taking the time to join us. Shumantru, if I can begin with you. In your experience of leading CINI's program in Jharkhand, what do you think were the priorities that were, top of mind for responding to young people's needs during COVID?
Yeah, thanks, Nandika. Thanks for including me in this highly prestigious panel where there is so much of wisdom together on one screen. And it was lovely listening to the voice from the community as well as government perspective. I think when you ask this question, it is very overwhelming because I don't know where to start and where to end, because so much we have faced during the last couple of years. To keep things just to simplify things, we can actually categorize the whole priorities into maybe two broad groups, one at the micro level and another at the macro level. If we see at the micro level, the priorities like education, continuation of education, then adolescents and young people becoming more vulnerable to abuse, things like violation of their rights. These are things, even mental health issues cropped up in a big way during the last couple of years because of this pandemic. If we look at the macro level issues, it is things like resources, the lack of resources, both human as well as financial resources. Very beautifully presented by our Dr. Bhunesh, that there are so many of the schemes related to adolescents in Jharkhand. Some of them are centrally sponsored, some are state-specific schemes. And the state, especially the health department, has done everything possible to ensure that they reaches the last mile to the communities. But because of connectivity issues, mobility issues, and lack of human resources during the pandemic, because the whole priority shifted towards managing the pandemic, there was an access issue which we as a civil society clearly saw. Access to SRHR services, access to health services for adolescents, and access to platforms where they interact with each other, develop life skill, which is the most important thing. So I think I would just like to conclude this by quoting what our champions, these youth champions, said, that माँ पिताजी को तो आदत ही हो गई है कि बना बनाया खाना मिल जाता है. So there is a sense of inertia. Because this whole disaster went on for too long, 2 years, 2.5 years, and as we all know that it's still knocking, and we may face the 4th wave and the 5th wave. I think, as we all know, to break the inertia, we need an external force, and the external force has to come together from government, a collaboration like this, where government, civil society, media, community, champions, panchayats all come together to create this force, which was very beautifully shown in that video which you prepared, joining hands and pushing the young people up in the ladder out of those vulnerabilities. I think this is how I would like to conclude. And these are the priorities: preparedness and breaking the inertia.
Got it. Very insightful. Thank you very much, Shumantru. Athiya, if I could come to you next, also, a sector leader, CEO of Angan Trust, what do you think, in your perspective, have been the key challenges that NGOs in the sector have faced in the last 2 years, and also what kind of support do you think that they require going forward?
First of all, I just have to say thank you very much, Dasra, for doing what I think is this really very important panel. I also have to say it's very nice to come after Shumantro because he's already said everything there is to be said about what the challenges are. I think, boring though it sounds, I think the biggest challenge we faced was access. Adolescents as a group are difficult to work with and to find at the best of times because they're at work, they're being married off, they're doing household chores. They're very difficult to work with. Then schools closed, so the few adolescents that we had access to, we suddenly lost access to them. And I think what COVID laid bare for everybody is that communication systems just aren't in place. There just aren't systems, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's communication, whether it's human resources, in the places where adolescents are. Those things don't exist. So when NGOs had to, pull back and get locked down, there was nothing there where adolescents are. And that's a travesty, and that is something that I hope that we learn from, because you know what? We lost way too many adolescents. So many of them who were in schools, who had a future. You've had girl champions, you've had these young champions talking about it. And I think we owe it to young people to say, this can't happen again. So we've understood that there are no systems. Communication should not be the individual responsibility of a household, right? Like, can I afford? I don't have money to eat. Yes, I certainly don't have a cell phone, and I certainly don't have a cell phone for my adolescent to use. So I think basic things like communication and community systems for ensuring that services can reach young people, that needs to be something that we develop and build, and just don't accept that is not something that we're going to demand. And I think the other thing we faced was, some people faced, was issues with sort of flexibility in funding. You have an outcome, you're supposed to work with adolescents, you're supposed to work in these particular ways. I think it's very important for us to understand that adolescents and children's vulnerability is only exacerbated by the vulnerability of their families and their communities. So you can't look at them in a silo or, in a vacuum. You've got to work with adolescents, you've got to work with their families. You've got to reduce vulnerability all around if you want to keep those children safe, those young people safe, I beg your pardon, those young people safe. And if they are indeed to thrive, everybody has to thrive. And so I would say that there is an urgent need, and it would be a shame if we learned nothing from the 2 years of this pandemic. And if we didn't, just put our shoulders to the wall and just ensure that we invest in community, invest in building the capability of community to be able to stand up and do what they need to do when crisis unfolds. Crisis, in the form of the pandemic, is something that we all realize in most of the communities that we all work with. Crisis is a daily occurrence, whether it's somebody got TB or, flood or this. Crisis is something that people that we work with live with on a daily basis. And I think now that the rest of us have experienced what crisis looks like and what it feels like and what loss looks like and feels like, I don't think that we can let another day go by without ensuring that we put in place those systems. And it's not undoable. I think COVID showed us that it's not undoable. Yeah. So that, I think, is where I'm going to end it.
Thank you. I guess a very, very clear message, very clear clarion call for all of us involved in this. Thank you, Athiya. Sanjay ji, if I can come to you next. As a media person, somebody so entrenched in the state in Jharkhand, इतने युवाओं के मुद्दों पे यहाँ पे बात हो रही है, आप मीडिया की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और मीडिया की इसमें जो रोल है, इसके बारे में थोड़ा अगर बताएं।
शुक्रिया नंदिका जी। जैसा जो आप लोगों ने भी सुना, मैं भी सुन रहा था सोनी का और सारी चीजें, तो मीडिया एक न्यूज रूम हेड करने के नाते इस तरह की कहानियां रोज आती हैं, और जो बहुत बहुत दुखदाई है अपने स्टेट के लिए। मेरा स्टेट ऐसे ही थोड़ा पिछड़ा हुआ है, इसमें इस हिसाब से बहुत सारी रिसोर्सेज है नहीं। ऐसी स्थिति में जो एडोलसेंट पीपल जो 80 लाख के करीब है, उनके लिए एक बड़ी दिक्कत है। और कोविड के समय में बार बार ये स्टोरीज जो हम लोग के बीच में आती है, स्टोरी ठीक है हम लोग उसको लगाते हैं, लेकिन बहुत दुखित मन से लगाते हैं मीडिया के नाते। लगता है कि ये ठीक है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि इसमें एक मीडिया के तौर पर बहुत बड़ी भूमिका एज ए मीडिया मैन मुझे लगता है कि हो सकता है। क्योंकि आप लोग देख रहे थे कि भुवनेश जी जो लगातार पूरा अपने उस पर बता रहे थे पूरे अपने उसमें कि किस तरह की योजनाएं हैं, क्या क्या योजनाएं हो रही हैं। लेकिन दिक्कत है कि वो योजनाओं की पूरी तरीके से हमारा जो एडोलसेंट जो ग्रुप है, उस ग्रुप तक उस योजनाओं की जानकारी नहीं, और वो जब उस स्कीम्स का कोई लाभ उन्हें नहीं मिलता है, तो ऐसी स्थिति में मीडिया का जो वर्क है कि ब्रिज बनाने का काम जो है, जो स्कीम्स है और उनके बीच में ब्रिज बनाने का काम मीडिया के तौर पर मुझे लगता है कि मैं इसके बहुत मेरा कन्फेशन भी है कि थोड़ा सा अगर हम लोग ब्रिज बना पाते तो थोड़ी सी स्थिति, चूंकि अपना स्टेट 22 वर्ष का हो चुका है, तो 22 वर्ष में थोड़ी सी स्थिति बदलती। लेकिन मुझे लग रहा है कि और ज्यादा एज ए मीडिया पर्सन हम लोग को और ज्यादा इसमें पहुंचने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि जो कोविड के समय में हम लोगों ने देखा है वो स्थिति पहले से और ज्यादा बदतर हो गई है। बहुत सारी योजनाओं का, गवर्नमेंट्स के बहुत सारे एफर्ट्स के बाद भी वो स्थितियां बहुत खराब हुई हैं। ये बताने में मुझे नहीं लगता है कि कोई इसमें है कि पूरे कोशिश के बावजूद, चूंकि बहुत सारी चीजें थी, हर एक के पास एक अपनी सीमाएं हैं, उन सीमाओं को खत्म करने के लिए आउट ऑफ बॉक्स जो मीडिया को सोचने की जरूरत है। मुझे लग रहा है कि ये वक्त है, सही समय है, और मैं अपने फोरम पे मुझे बात रखने का अवसर दिया, इसके लिए मैं शुक्रिया करते हुए एज ए मैं अगर आप लोगों के ओर से कुछ इंटरवेंशन की कोशिश होती है तो हम लोग कराची में और पूरे स्टेट में एज ए पूरे एक मीडिया ग्रुप बना करके भी हम लोग इंटरवेंशन के लिए एक कोशिश कर सकते हैं, जिससे जो हमारी जो पूरी पिक्चर है ना, ये पिक्चर थोड़ी सी बदल जाए, थोड़ी सी अच्छी हो जाए, थोड़ा सा बेहतर हो जाए। मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू। हम सबकी आई होप आपकी उम्मीद पूरी हो, हमारी ये उम्मीद है। आरती, आई विल कम टू यू लास्ट प्लीज। एंड सॉरी, थोड़ा सा रश कर रहे हैं हम इस सेशन में, तो आपसे भी रिक्वेस्ट होगी रैप अप करने के लिए। यू लीड अ यूथ लीडरशिप प्रोग्राम. Could you tell us what it really takes to enable youth leadership, and then how do you use some of these learnings? How do you amplify some of these learnings?
So there are a lot of things that we can do with young people to help them become a part of solutions. So get them to actively contribute, volunteer to gain first-hand experience of the problems. They can associate with youth groups and NGOs to become part of networks that are working towards solutions. And they can also advocate on issues that they have lived experience of, as we just heard from Soni and Beena. However, from LMI perspective, for youth to be part of solutions, we feel that it's very important for young people to gain knowledge and skills. I can speak from the perspective of sexual and reproductive health, on which Love Matters work. One of the biggest issues around young people claiming their rights is the lack of knowledge. And for an issue that is so deeply entrenched in societal taboo, it would be very hard for them to speak, let alone claim their rights and develop solutions without proper knowledge and the agency to be able to talk about such issues. Even till today on sexual and reproductive rights, we only barely are able to talk about menstruation. So in our experience, that one thing that young people can do is to gain knowledge, gain agency, and gain relevant skills that can help them meaningfully participate in a solution. So for example, last year we ran the MobiCar program with the 10 to 19 adult initiative. And MobiCar program was basically mobile wale patraka. in which we ran a 12-week intensive program to develop young people's knowledge on sexual and reproductive health and rights, along with 21st century skills of content creation. So at this program, young people got to know about their rights around, let's say, marriage, childbirth, gender, family planning, some of those broken ladders that you showed us on the video. And we spoke to young people about them. We got them to talk about it, and we got them to report on these issues from the state of Jharkhand. So it was people who were in the situation reporting on the situation. So the narrative you can see is not from a third perspective. And they also then learned how to make short films using their own mobile phones. They understood how to zoom into a story, how to find the right people to talk, how to interview them, how to finally put together powerful videos that can be shown as evidence, research, documentation, everything that people in this esteemed gathering use to put together solutions. So, and this time, the only difference is that this documentation has been put together people who live those realities. It's not a third party. So, and we ran this program in the middle of the second wave. And it was young people who asked us to carry on. We asked them, did you want to take a pause? And they said no, because skill building was one anchor that young people thought was helping them carry on during the worst of times. They did not want to stop their learning because this was something that was getting obstructed in other formats. So please, I mean, everybody listening, I would just request everybody to go and check out the Mobicar YouTube channel, where they have put all the content created by our Mobicars, highlighting the issues that the state of Jharkhand needs your help on. And finally, just to wrap up, the content has been created, the knowledge has been gained, the skills have been developed. Now the Mobicars and Sony and Beena, they all need you all to amplify their voices. And I have just two suggestions before I wrap up. One is for corporates who are maybe listening, or donors or funders who may be listening to all of us today. Use this material that our young champions, youth champions are telling you in this forum today, and the content they have created, instead of basically researching it via a third-party agency. They have got these skills. They can interview people, they can do surveys, they can do research. And every year, 10 to 19 Adolescent Initiative, Love Matters India is building these skills amongst Jharkhand youth. Please use them. The second request is for influencers on social media. Adolescents are aspirational. They would love for an influencer on social media to hold their hand and get them the same spotlight that these influencers have to the state of Jharkhand, to their content, and teach them skills so that they can become influencers of the next generation. So it's a call out to all those influencers in this new world of social media to hold the hands of young people and adolescents from the smaller states like Jharkhand. So on this note, I would like to wrap up.
There could be no better note to wrap up on, Aarti. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the panelists, and thank you audience members for staying with us for a couple of minutes over time. This has been a very interesting conversation for us. We're taking away a lot. More power to youth, more power to NGOs, and more partnership along the way, collaborating across borders, across stakeholders, and across issue areas is something that we hold very true to our hearts, and we do hope that we can build that in this community of more than 100 people that have been present in the conversation today. Before you drop off, there's a quick poll that we have to get your feedback on the session. If you could just take 2 seconds to answer that. Speakers, you won't have an opportunity to fill this, though we will receive your feedback over email. And as you fill the poll, may I request, of course, that you do join us tomorrow for the next session at Dasra Philanthropy Week. It is at 2:30 p.m. and we will be talking about leaving no one behind, inclusive sanitation for every city. We look forward to you joining that and hope to see you soon again. Do stay tuned for all future conversations that we will be hosting through this year by following us on Instagram and Twitter, as well as all of our youth champions on their social media handles. Thank you to everybody for joining us. It was just brilliant to have this interesting and engaged group throughout, and we hope to see you again soon and have more of these conversations. Thank you and good night to everyone.